Hey guys, we are talking area of circles today. Just a couple things we need to know is that when we say circumference, that is the measure around a circle. Diameter is from one end to the other and it goes through the middle. The radius goes from the middle of the circle to the edge. Okay, then we use this little guy called pi, right, to help us find things in circles. If you're wondering what the heck pi is, I'll link a video for you in the corner. But just know that it's a relationship that happens in all circles, so we can use it to help us find things about circles, such as the circumference and the area. Okay, so right off here, we are given the radius, and we want to know what the area is. Well, guess what? The area of the circle is pi times the radius squared. Okay, so my area of this circle is going to be equal to pi times my radius, 25 squared. Okay, now 25 squared gives me 625, and we are still multiplying that by pi. Okay, now it's important when working with circles that you know how your teacher wants your answer. There are some teachers who may want you to leave it with pi in the answer. We call that the exact answer because pi is a number that literally goes on forever, so we have to round at some point. So some teachers may prefer you to leave it like this. Now this one asks us to round to the nearest hundredth, so we are going to multiply it. There's kind of two options, and again, your teacher will probably tell you what they want. There is a pi button on your calculator that you can use, or some teachers may say, use 3.14 for pi, okay? So whatever your teacher says, go ahead and do it that way. So I'm going to do 625 times, there's my little pi symbol, and that equals, again, we've been asked to round to the nearest hundredth, which is 2 places behind the decimal. So I get 1963.495. So that is going to round up to 0.50, or I could have just written 0.5. If you need a reminder on how to round decimals, I'll link a video for you in the corner. So remember, this is my area, so my units are going to be inches squared. Now, the reason for that is when we are talking area, we are talking the space inside, right? Like if this were a circular room we were carpeting, right? Because that's a normal thing to do. This is how many square inches, so a box that is an inch by an inch, would fit inside of that space, okay? That's why it's inches squared. All right, let's go ahead and look at this guy. Find the area of the circle given the diameter. So we've been given all the way across, okay? But when for area, I want the radius. So we can use our diameter to find the radius because the radius is just half the diameter. So what is half of 9? Well, it is 4.5, okay? So that is my radius. Same thing, my area is equal to pi times my radius squared. Okay, 4.5 squared gives me 20.25. Okay, and we're still multiplying that by pi. Then I'm going to plug this into my calculator. 20.25 times pi equals, my area equals 63.617. So that's going to round up to 62. And we are in yards. Because it's area, we are squared. Look at that. We just did another one. Okay, this guy is a little different. This one doesn't give us the diameter or the radius. It gives us the circumference. Remember, that's the measure around, like if you were putting a fence around that, okay? So how do we find it? There's no circumference in my area, right? So what we do is we use our circumference to find our radius, and then we use our radius to find the area. It's like a game, all right? It's not like annoying that we have to do an extra step. Of course not. Okay, so my circumference is 94 inches. I want to know my radius, okay? My circumference is equal to pi times the diameter, or 2 times the radius times pi, right? Either of those give me the circumference. So I'm going to say that the circumference, or 94, I'm plugging it in right here, is equal to 2 pi times the radius. Now, r is my only unknown, or my radius, so I can solve for r to find my radius, okay? So I'm going to divide both of these by 2 pi. Why do I do that, you ask? Because that makes r be by itself, okay? So let's go ahead and use our calculator. So I'm going to do 94 divided by 2 pi. I'm going to make sure I use parentheses so that the 2 and the pi stay together on the denominator, on it, under, I don't know. There you go. So 94 divided by 2 pi gives me 14.96. We have to round somewhere. It keeps going. Because this asks for the nearest hundredth, I'm going to do it there as well. But remember, this is not my area. This is my radius, okay? So that means from the center of my circle to the outer edge, this is 14.96 inches. We were able to find that because we had the circumference, okay? Now that we have the radius, we can totally figure out the area, no problem. So my area equals pi times the radius squared. So pi times my radius, which we figured out, 14.96 squared, okay? So when I take 14.96 and I square it, I get a pretty long number. So I end up with 223.8016. I'm just going to round that to 0.80. And we are still multiplying that by pi. So 223.80 times pi, and I get 703.088. So again, it wanted the nearest hundredth, so I'm going to round that to 0.9. And we are in inches, and it's area, so we are inches squared. You will also see it sometimes written as square inches, either way. All right, I hope this was helpful. If you need some more circle videos, or you're wondering more about what this pi thing is, I will link some videos for you. Thanks.